Hi, my name is Oliver. This is Brett. We're the co-founders of Ketogenic Asia. Having a child with epilepsy who was not responding to any medications, I started to do my own research on the ketogenic diet. Tried it on myself, felt amazing, and decided to put my son on it. Fast forward, he's been seizure-free for over 4 years now.
I'm the owner of Ketogenic Asia, and Oliver has been a therapist with me for many years now. He introduced the keto low-carb diet to me, and after seeing and experiencing the results, it made total sense to me to combine the services of kinesiology and hypnotherapy that we have here to help address some of the concerns that inhibit people from being able to get into ketosis. Things such as high cortisol, digestive and sleep issues, and being able to develop the mindset that's required to follow through with the diet. In having this unique approach, it helps us to obtain outstanding results and allows us to deal with the individual challenges that our clients face.
My name is Queenie. I'm a therapist here at Kinesiology Asia, as well as a keto coach, and I'd like to give you all a quick background on this part of the world. On the list of the top 10 countries with the highest numbers of diabetic patients, China is up there at number 1. Locally, here in Hong Kong, diabetes and its complications are the 10th most common cause of death, with 400 to 500 deaths per year. 1 in 10 have diabetes, and 1 in 5 of those is less than 40 years old. In the next 10 years, the number of diabetics is estimated to climb from 700,000 to 1 million within a population of 8 million people. There is no doubt that there's a growing interest in all things low carb and keto, but what we see is a real lack of proper education, especially within the medical community. We hope through the collaboration with Nutrition Network, we're able to educate more people in this part of the world.
Hi, my name is Ben, and I'm a health coach here at Ketogenic Asia. Our flagship program at the clinic involves a 12 to 14-week protocol, and we take advantage of many communication tools that have come to us in the modern age, such as WhatsApp groups, Zoom meetings, Facebook groups, and the like, to ensure better engagement and adherence with the people that we see. Along with regular blood ketone and glucose testing, body composition assessments, and continuous blood glucose monitors, which is a tool that we are increasingly using, especially with those struggling with type 2 diabetes. In phase 1 of our program, we focus on keto adaptation. And by that, I mean that we aim to gradually shift the metabolism to burning fat as the primary source of fuel. In phase 2 of our program, we focus on improving body composition. And we do that through tweaking the macros a bit further from phase 1 and introducing some fasting strategies and some simple exercises as well. At the end of the program, we compare blood work, body fat percentage, and muscle quality to the client's pre-program numbers. And the results, as Oliver will highlight when he goes over a few case studies, have been dramatic.
I'd like to present 4 case studies that really highlight the power of low-carb keto in the context of type 2 diabetes. I've obviously changed the names of my clients to keep it anonymous. First case study, Paul. Paul came to see me back in 2017. He was devastated. He explained with tears that he had just been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. He had lost his dad from diabetes complications and was already seeing himself following his footsteps. Paul also had a problem with alcohol. He was typically consuming about 2 liters or more of wine a day. So he embarked, highly motivated, on his LCHF journey. With the help of hypnotherapy and kinesiology, he completely stopped drinking. Started with intermittent fasting, with a few extended fasts, up to 7 days actually. And 4 to 5 months later, when he came back with his new blood work, the tears he had in his eyes were for complete different reasons this time. all the diabetic blood markers were in normal range, a complete reversal. As you can see here, some of the remarkable numbers. When he started in November 2017, HbA1c 11.6, a drastic, massive drop of 6.1 down to 5.5, which is a non-diabetic range. The fasting glucose was at 12.7 down to 5.4, which is a normal range for fasting blood glucose. The triglycerides were pretty elevated at 2.22 down to 0.8, which is an optimum level here. And last but not least, he dropped 9 kilos, but at the same time, he did put on quite a significant amount of muscle mass. So he did absolutely fantastic. Next case study, Cindy. So Cindy had just been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Since teenage years, she's always had a weight issue, did zillions of different diets over the years, always got all the weight back, plus some extra. But on top of all, she was a true carbs addict with powerful cravings towards sugary and other junk foods. Robert Sivers, also known as the carb addiction doc, who is part of the Nutrition Network, knows better than anyone else if you don't resolve the carb addiction component, you're bound to fail. So this is what I prioritize with Cindy. Luckily for her, she was extremely receptive to hypnosis, which allowed her to almost instantly, completely overcome her sweet cravings. 12 weeks later, she completely reversed her type 2 diabetes diagnosis. As you see, some of the figures are quite spectacular, especially the incredible improvements in her insulin resistance, as shown by the HOMA-IR. So if you look at it, HbA1c started 6.7, which is the diabetic range, down to 5.5 just in a matter of 12 weeks. Fasting glucose from 10 to 5. Triglycerides were okay, but still improved. Fasting insulin, this is the dramatic change, down 23 points at 4.4, which is an optimal level, showing a great level of insulin sensitivity, which with an HOMA-IR, which is measuring the calculation of insulin resistance, down to 1. The CRP, which is a marker of systemic inflammation that we see quite often with diabetic patients, went also down 3 points, but most importantly, and trustingly, she lost 13.3 kilos, and quite easily. The BMI dropped from an obese category to an overweight category, but she's still on the diet and is continuing to lose weight. Next case study. Let's talk about Frank. So Frank's close friend, a family doctor, was really worried about him, seeing him gaining weight over the past few years. He encouraged him to do a blood test. The diabetes diagnosis came like a slap in the face for Frank. He decided he was going to do everything he could to reverse his condition, lose weight, and leave the obese category. Frank was very eager to lose weight. So to speed up the process, after the initial keto adaptation that usually takes about 3 to 5 weeks, depending on the individual, we like to utilize Dr. Naiman's PE, which stands for Protein to Energy approach, which prioritizes proteins, especially on the second stage of our program, which is more focused on the weight loss. Within 5 weeks, Frank's was off metformin, and he was starting to lose weight at a great but yet healthy pace. So fast forward 12 weeks later, HbA1c, which was on the diabetes range at 6.8, was down to non-diabetic range at 5. Triglycerides, which were quite elevated when he started the program at 2.7, were down 1.18. The insulin was not terribly high, but did improve 2 points. He had an extremely high C-reactive protein level at 12.4, which dropped half. Still a little bit of work to do on that regard. Also noticeable was the ALT, which is one of the liver enzymes, which was slightly elevated at 57 and went down at 21 to a healthy range. But most importantly, he lost 19.8, almost 20 kilos in that 12 weeks period, and had a diminished waist of 13 centimeters over that period. I had a little chat with him the other week, and he's now down 33.4 kilos. BMI has dropped an extra 9.5, and his waist, is down minus 35 centimeters. So he's been doing extremely well. Last but not least, let's talk about Bob. So Bob is actually an old friend of mine. I've known him for about 30 years. He's an ex-professional boxer, the sweetest guy I know, unless you piss him off. 10 years ago, he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Ever since, years after years, I've tried to convince him to give keto a try. He went through some of the typical complications that you get when you have type 2 diabetes, including diabetic retinopathy, had a surgery for it. And then, out of the blue, last year, he reached out, telling me he decided to give it a serious try. So as with all my clients, I asked him to reach out to his doctor for a baseline test. So he mentioned the diets that he was planning to do, and to his surprise, his doctor was completely against it and tried to discourage him from doing it, claiming it was not sustainable, it would not work, it was unhealthy, blah, 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 blah. At the time, despite being on 3 medications, his blood sugar was far from ideal. So I ran him through our 12 weeks program completely remotely as he's living overseas, through Zoom and daily WhatsApps. Halfway through, he stopped one of his medications, the sulfonylurea, which is one that is pretty problematic when you do keto, as there's a high risk of hypoglycemia. And I just want to take the opportunity to give a shout out to the Diabetes Reversal course from Nutrition Network, which was very helpful for me, especially learning information about these prescribing medications. I was able to give him some good, interesting, and useful information that he was able to share with his doctor. So the 12 weeks mark, he repeated a complete blood panel and all his levels were optimal. He's now completely medication free. Now, I can tell you his medical doctor probably have spent the worst 50 minutes consultation of his life when my friend completely snapped at him. I told him, you have to be nice with him. He just doesn't know, he just needs to be educated. And this doctor had never seen something like this before and just couldn't believe the changes and the transformation when you go through these figures, which were quite outstanding. So hopefully this doctor is going to start spreading the word to his patients now. So some of the dramatic improvement that happened was obviously the HbA1c that was 6.1 despite the medication went down to 5.2. The fasting glucose at 7.32 down to normal range at 5. Triglycerides went down. Insulin level went down to optimum levels. The HOMA-IR went down from an insulin resistant number to an insulin sensitive number at below 1, which is remarkable. CRP went down, still not ideal, but he lost 13 kilos within that 12 weeks period, which is pretty amazing. And the BMI also dropped to just the entry level of overweight category.
We aspire to lead the way here in Asia and look forward to future collaborations and strengthening the global LCHF community.
On behalf of my team here in Hong Kong, I'd like to thank you and share how excited we are to be ambassadors for Nutrition Network.